Welcome to a special edition of the Referrals podcast. Introducing our new Daily Dose. We've assembled the ultimate crisis response team for your business. Generous leaders from around the globe teaming up to teach, guide, and lead you through this time of isolation and quarantine. Now let's meet your host, Michael J. Maher.
Hey everybody, this is Michael J. Maher. Welcome back to another episode of The Daily Dose. Every day during the quarantine, during the coronavirus episode, until we get the all clear, every day we're going to give you a daily dose of positivity and productivity. And I have to tell you, imagine this. Imagine you are sitting alone on the stage in front of 5,000 people. And on that stage, the person who is asking is a thought leader, one of the top in his industry, and he goes totally off script. And he asks you something like this: Michael, I know you're one of the most ritualized, structured, scheduled people I've ever met. And I know that you didn't start out that way. But if we took away your morning ritual, your evening ritual, your pre-sleep ritual, your at-bat ritual in baseball, if we took away your warm-up ritual, if we took away all of your rituals and your structure and all of your habits, what one habit would you give up last? What is the one habit or the one structure that you would fight the hardest to keep, or it would be the first one that you would want to know and build off of? Okay, unrehearsed, did not see this puppy coming, did not see this question coming. And I have to tell you that I thought for a good 20 seconds, which probably felt like 2 hours. I mean, it was like I was sweating. And then I finally thought about it and I said, time blocking. The one habit, the one thing that I really, really want to make sure that I have is time blocking. I want to make sure that I can get all of the other habits and all the other rituals back. You know why? Because I understand the concept of time blocking. And I will tell you, I mean, what is time blocking if it's not life blocking? Right? Time is really life. So I have to tell you, today's episode, I am so honored and humbled to have this guest on. He is a high-level coach, and he's a high-level lender. So not only does he coach, but he also does it, which we love here at the Generosity Generation. So without further ado, all the way from Sacramento, California, let's welcome Mr. Neal Smith. Welcome, Neal, to the Daily Dose, the edition of the Generosity Generation.
Hey, Michael, I think this is a great idea, by the way. I think this stepping up and doing this, it's awesome. And I really appreciate you letting me come on and share some ideas. So I'm really looking forward to this.
Well, not just any idea, right? I mean, some ideas are kind of like it's optional. You know, if you do this idea, you can do it or not, and it's okay. But this is the one where, like, if I were going to demand something from someone, like a coaching client, this is the one that we got to start with this, right? I mean, why? Let's start with why. You know, why do we need time blocking, Neal, in your opinion? Why do we need time blocking?
Well, for me, it's about efficiency, right? My goal is to be as efficient as I can, whether it's at home or at work. And so if I can go get the most bang for my buck at work, that's where time blocking really came in, because what would happen for me is we'd just be reacting. But what the time blocking does for you is it really figures out and you identify what are those key factors that are going to really have the biggest impact on you. And that's what's been so important for me with time blocking, especially with reading your book and this whole thing of the influential zone and realizing, you know, how important that is and start to track it. And just like, you know, you played sports, right? I played a lot of golf, and I would track all my different things in sport, in golfing, that would then all of a sudden I could measure it and get better.
Yeah.
And that's the part about the time blocking that's so important, is like you measure it, one, okay, and then what can you do to get better?
Yeah.
And what happens is, with my industry, with lending, influence is really, really important. Well, what can we do out there to be more influential? And that's where the time blocking thing has been, I've been really laser focused on it. What can I do to just be out there more in front of people?
What was it like for you, speaking of going off script, what was it like for you before you understood the concept of time blocking? You're already pretty structured before. Lending can be a little bit more structured anyway, in the sense of a 9 to 6 or a 9 to 5 for some lenders, right? Whereas a realtor is, they've got time all over, or a stay-at-home mom is they've got open hours, and really they run their life around their kids. I mean, I've had, by the way, just so you know, I've had stay-at-home moms reach out to me about, like, I'm going nuts between trying to homeschool and do this and do this, will 30 mornings help me, and that kind of thing. It's like, oh my God, yes, it will. But the thing is that, what was it like for you before time blocking? And was it something where you just had to tweak, or was it an overhaul?
So I'm not a stranger to time blocking. I've been doing it for a while before I met you and got into this journey with you. And, but the tweak to me was really, what is it that we do with the influential zone, right? And what would happen is I would just
explain the influential zone. Before, you mentioned it a few times, but for those that, I have people that didn't even know I wrote a book who are on this. Some of my friends on my Facebook page, I invited my personal Facebook profile friends to be on this as well. And I think a lot of this may be very, very new to them. So, so what is the influential zone?
Well, so you came up with this idea of the pyramid of success, right? And then the part of it is what are you doing to be in front of people that you're going to have the most bang for your buck, right? And right now we have, obviously phone calls is a piece of it, because we can still call people, right? Events and seminars are a little tough these days. That's where I've been doing a lot of Zoom parties,
online,
things along those, right? And then one-on-one meetings. Well, we're not really, one-on-one meeting that much, and so I've been using Zoom a lot for that as well. Is getting
this
the
is a one-on-one.
This is a one-on-one, right?
Yeah.
And so that's been really important in taking what you have with your influential zone and tweaking it a little bit with what the new reality is right now. Hopefully shorter than longer of what we have to deal with.
But all your communication is not electronic communication. You're mixing in this video that is real-time video, right? Versus, some people consider video, it's like you record it and then you put it out. There's a level that's in a certain level, the electronic communication level. But then you've got this real-time video, which is one-on-one meetings, and it's kind of like a phone call on steroids with a FaceTime call, right? Those are things that we can do. This is the 7 levels of communication right there. And you can't see the green zone all that well because I'm in front of a green screen. But the bottom line is it's advertising, direct mail, and electronic communication on the bottom 3 levels, informational zone. The middle is handwritten notes. Yes, it has its own level. And then the top 3 levels, as Neal was saying, are phone calls, events and seminars, and one-on-one meetings, which comprise the influential zone. If you want to influence, convince, or sell, and really it's about influence right now, then you need to be doing it in the influential zone. And so, really, why do we need to time block? Why not just kind of go through the day? And is this a deal where you're taking away my freedom?
Well, you introduced me to Dan Kennedy's book, and talk about a level of intensity in time blocking. That's a whole nother level, right? And I think that time blocking, you have to look at it is you got to give yourself some grace, right? And if you look at your toddler who crawled before they walked and all of that stuff, you got to give yourself grace through this thing, and you have to realize that you can do better, and you're going to make mistakes as you go through this. And why is it so important? I think it's so important to really, if you could, like, again, efficiency. If I could do work in 3 hours, what normally took me 7 or 8, I've just freed up my time. Really, right? And then I could go do some different things that I want to do. And what ends up happening, and I'm sure this has happened to you in your workspace, is that you ended up getting pulled in different directions, or a shiny object, or a phone call, or something like that, when you should be on your priority tasks. And so by identifying what are the key things that really, really move the needle for you at work or you at home, right? And putting those in as a priority into your schedule. If you get those things done, God, the rest of your day is freedom.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, I love that. So what you're telling me is that with a little bit of structure, I actually get more freedom. You know, what you're saying is that I have more free time. I have more time when I'm not thinking about all the things I should be doing. That's what it sounds like you're saying, is that, you know, we have all these shoulds. You know, I should clean the garage. I should clean this. I should make this call. I should write this book. I should do this. I should. And pretty soon we're just shoulding all over ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And we don't want to should all over ourselves. What we want is it's a should. We put it into our schedule. Is that kind of what you're saying? Is I should clean the garage. All right, I'll put clean the garage from 3 to 6 p.m. on Sunday.
Well, if that is a priority to you.
That's right.
And then that's the part of it, is how does that rank? Is cleaning the garage more important than cleaning the kitchen, or whatever it might be? And so that's the part of it, is you got to look and reevaluate each day or each week, each month, however you structure it. And I have thoughts around all of that. But the key is what is a priority that's going to be the most important thing to you right now.
I love that. Let me encourage those that are listening. Thank you for everybody tuning in today. I was actually surprised that we had so many already. So thank you for logging in and listening in and watching. And here's the thing. I want everybody that's on this to comment on a scale of 0 to 10. Rank yourself on your time block. Where are you? A 0 is you literally live your day as it happens, winging it all day long. A 10 is literally every hour is scheduled for something, and you have broken it down to either 30-minute or 1-hour increments, where you literally know what you're going to be doing during that time, and you stick with it. That would be the 10. So you rank yourself on a 0 to 10 scale. So we've already got zeros, Neal. I mean, we're saving that person's life today. And I'm not even joking, right? We've got 4s and 5s and that kind of thing. So what's the 1-degree tweak that I could do today to make progress on my time block? And I kind of want to preface this question with, here's what so many teachers like Dan Kennedy and a lot of these teachers teach is they say, all right, what's your ideal day? What's your perfect day? What's it look like? And then people write out like 3 hours of lead generation and then maybe lunch and then, showings and appointments and, maybe dinner. And they get this huge giant 2-week time block done. And then they try to go live it, and everything breaks because it's too much, right? It's trying to do a pivot. Many people are trying to do a pivot. They're trying to go from where they were, which was a pretty regimented schedule, especially around school. And now they've got no schedule. We can't go from no schedule to a really regimented schedule in one day. This is going to take a tweak. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When you say 1 degree, and it's hard because the one thing that I figured out and that I've taught on about time blocking that a lot of people haven't done before, and I'm sort of surprised, to be honest with you, is you take, what I believe you do is you take your ideal schedule, and then what you do is you say, what did you actually do?
Yeah. Very
important. And then you look at it and look at the delta or the change or the gap, whatever word you want to say, and go, well, really, is that utopian schedule, was that really where I wanted to be? Because then you have to get into your why and all of that other stuff. But the key is what's that gap in measuring that and being real with it. I can't tell you how many people I've coached on this, and they give me this schedule that is just awesome. I mean, I got tired looking at it. I got exhausted that they're getting up at 3:45 in the morning and they're going till 7:30 at night, and they don't even have time for dinner. I mean, I'm going, wow, these guys are Navy SEALs. I mean, these are amazing. And guess what happens? Like 2 days later, I check in and they're going, how'd it go? And they're like, not so good. And so that's the part of it, is you have to realize where you're at. And then maybe that's where you want to be, but what can you do to incrementally change it? And part of that's measuring. And what I really liked when we talked about being on your daily dose is you talked about an accountability partner, right?
That's right.
And what a great place to use this accountability partner, where you could create this time block schedule, and you can look at what your actual is, and you could critique each other and help each other on a every week like basis to see what you guys can do to improve. Now, for me, a big thing that you teach is influential zone.
Yeah.
And so I want to measure how much time I'm in the influential zone, and on a percentage basis based on my hours. Okay. And that's not 1 degree tweak. So just don't go there. But I want to measure that. So what are the things that you really want to measure with your schedule is the first place.
Yeah.
And the other piece it's part of it, but not, is grace. You got to have grace in this, because you're learning something new, especially if you feel like you're a zero.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you just put 1 hour of doing one thing, or even if it started with just one call to your sphere, right? Hour of power is one call.
Yeah.
Just so you can get a habit, because that's the part of it that we're talking about here, is changing some habits.
That's
really
great
important.
coaching. That is great coaching right there. Is don't block off an hour for calls. Block off one call. So block off an hour for one call, right? And if you get that call done during that hour, then you win right now. Knowing with the thought in mind that down the road, we want to move up to 2 calls during that hour. Our hour of power is now 2 calls. Too many people, especially they jump into a class or something, it's like, make 20 calls during your hour of power. Well, I have to tell you, some of my best hour of power is just an hour of really focused intensity on one thing. So it doesn't necessarily have to be phone calls. In this case, we're talking about phone calls, and it's been bastardized in the real estate world to where it means only phone calls. But an hour of power is, you can have an hour of power on anything. And it's one of those where it's phone calls. Is I've had hours of power that were 20 calls, and they were all really weak calls. They were just like quick, and just, we really didn't get anywhere with them. And then I've had hours of power where it's 2 or 3 calls, and it's amazing. Like, our relationship totally went up on the relationship scale. So I love how you're saying that. Is just like, block off 1 hour today, and I'm going to push this even harder than Neal will. Is you've got your daily dose. Everybody has blocked that off 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern or 10 to 11 a.m. Pacific. Here's my suggestion. We're talking about making the centerpiece of your day the masterpiece of your day. And trust me, that's a bigger statement than just the daily dose. Daily dose for 1 hour. So that means 30 minutes of content, 30 minutes of instant implementation. And then here's what I want you to do today. From the next hour, 2 to 3, just block off for anything you want. Anything you want. But all I'm going to say is you stick to that one thing, whatever it is, you stick to it. So what we're going to do moving forward is you're not going to worry about all day unless you're that overachiever who really wants to worry about all day. But you are going to stack one thing on the back end of the daily dose. You're going to have the daily dose, instant implementation, and then one thing that you're going to do every day. It might be phone calls. It might be post on Facebook. It might be work on some piece of your business. But now your daily dose time is 1 to 3 p.m. So 1 to 2, daily dose implementation. And then you've got that hour where no family, no kids, no interruptions. You're going to focus on one other thing. So here's my question is, what are you going to put after the daily dose as part of your centerpiece equals the masterpiece in the middle of your day, right? So that's what I want you to put in the comment below. Make sure you tag your accountability partner. And it's like, this is what I'm going to do the hour after. Learn Zoom. You could do a Zoom appointment. You could do a one-on-one. You could do phone calls. You could do family time and just block it off. But it seems like a lot of people's problem right now is like 24/7 is family time. I get it, right? But I love that. I love that. And I love how you included the accountability partner on that, Neal. That's a beautiful thing. So
can I say, let me interrupt. One other thing about the time blocking thing that you brought to me that I didn't ever think about before was white space, and this idea that you have call it grace period, whatever it might be. But I see so often that people have such regimented days, and you created this white space. And I'm like, what is white space? What are you supposed to do? And it was just this idea of kind of a catch-all, that the things that you missed on some other things, and then having some time, whether it's an hour or 2 hours, of just catch-all and being okay with that space. I think it's so important. I had never heard of that before I met you. And I want to thank you for that, because that's really helped me a ton in my time blocking. So
thank you. I appreciate that. I had to create that for myself because I don't like to be constricted or caged. And so it's like, I've got to have playground time. I've got to have recess. I've got to have catch-all. You know what it turned into being is it really turned into being ready for any opportunity time. That's really, so I would have like 9 to 11, 9 to 10, I would have the 1st and 10, 10 to 11, I would have the hour of power. And then 11 to noon, I would have white space. Like I had to do paperwork, or I had to sign some stuff, or it was just white space. And then noon to 1 was going to be lunch and returning phone calls. And then 1 to 3 was appointments and paperwork and transaction work or whatever it may be. 3 to 4 was white space. And I have to tell you, it was uncanny how often that was a walk down to Panera to get a green tea and just like walk and get out and just like take a walk. 4 to 5 was return phone calls, right? And that kind of was the day. And then I'd have my appointment time for listings and buyer consults and things like that. But you know, what happened is I would build a team, and I had that 3 to 4 white space. And what was the thing with the team is the agents would be coming in all the time asking questions, like all the time, like, what do I do here? And it's like, and it would be all these interruptions to these things that made me successful in the first place. So I was like, oh, you know what? Here's the deal. I have team time now in the schedule from 3 to 4 p.m. is now team time. If you're in my office, you get priority. If you call during that time and nobody's in my office, then we'll answer your questions. And it served several purposes. It gave me sanity. It gave me my time back all the other time during the day. But the beautiful thing is made my agents more self-sufficient because they didn't want to wait till 3 o'clock to get their solution, you know? So they actually solved a lot of these problems on their own and became big time agents like Shannon Julian, right? And somebody that could handle being a single mom with 2 kids and kick butt in real estate as well. So it's good stuff.
Yeah.
So what are some challenges to look out for as we implement time blocking? Because everybody wants to do it. And it's like, all right, let's do it, right? So what are some challenges that are going to happen when I do it?
This is going to sound funny, but if you can get some rhythm with it, it's actually going to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And guess what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you all have done it. I've done it. I can't believe how many times I'm going to admit this, but I mean, I don't know how many, but I've actually done things that have actually worked. And guess what? I stopped doing them. It was the stupidest thing ever. It could have been going to the gym or whatever it is. I started seeing results and then stopped. And that's the part of it with the time blocking piece is that when you start getting in a rhythm, it's a habit, and you got to keep going through that habit. There's a great book on habits actually that talks a little bit about old habits versus new, and that you're paving this way of this new habit, but you have to really realize that old habit's still there.
Yeah.
And you can go back there very easily. And I've been guilty of it. And so that's the part of it. Just realize you're keeping, on track in this habit. And this is where maybe this accountability partner thing, maybe this could be a longer term type of situation where you're going to have somebody just to check in. Hey, how are you even doing it? They don't necessarily have to see it, but are you still doing it? I think that's a big one as far as the challenge goes. I think going back to grace is a really important thing too, because don't overcommit. You don't have to get a grade on the perfect schedule.
Yeah.
Okay, we can all create the perfect schedule. It's not that, it's what you actually did is what you're really getting graded on based on where you were and did you do better this week? And that's a part of it, I think, is grace. You know, one of my teachers told me in high school, and I didn't get it at the time. I was in an advanced math class and I was getting a C in this class. And he goes, "We are going to show you how to fail at higher levels." And I freaked out. I'm like, oh my God, I've never got
I don't want to fail.
I don't want to fail. I was in high school. I didn't get it till way later on in life that's how we actually learn and how we grow is by failure. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to, guess what? Your hour of power might be all of a sudden taken away, which is supposed to be your calling your past clients. It might be taken over by a fire that's happening on a closing you have, or it might even be taken over by a new client, right? And you're not going to say, I'm not calling this new client right now because it's my hour of power. You got to have some grace.
Are you enjoying the Daily Dose? Want to connect with thousands of other business owners that are winning the referral game while working from home right now? Head over to the Generosity Generation Facebook group. Connect with leaders, visionaries, and business owners from all over the world. Go to www.joingengen.com. That's www.joingengen.com.
Yeah.
For sure. So those
sometimes
are
you just got to do what's most important when it's most important, you know. Kind of goes back to Covey, right? And Covey gives the best example of first things first in there. He does a great example with a jar. And the jar, you've got these big rocks and you've got these smaller rocks, you've got pebbles, and then you've got sand. And he goes, fill the jar. And so you can fill it with sand, which are the inconsequential, really insignificant things. You can fill it with the pebbles. You can fill it with the small rocks, or you can fill it with the big rocks. And it's like, it depends on how you want to do it. But there's only one way to make sure everything fits. And that is, you got to put your big rocks in first. You got to put your big priorities into the schedule first. And then, you know what, then your small rocks, then your pebbles, and then you can pour in a ton of sand around the big rocks, small rocks, and pebbles. And then, you know what you can do at the end is you can pour 2 cups of coffee in there. You know why? Because there's always time for coffee with a friend in life. So I think the bottom
beer
line
too, right?
I used to use the beer example, but I had a lady come up that wasn't very happy with the beer example.
Or water.
So,
Water works
so
too.
yeah, if you don't drink coffee, then we could have 2 glasses of water. There we go. So I think that, so what are, like, Neal, what are some big rocks that you've experienced through coaching clients through this, or for yourself? Like, what are some big rocks that we need to make sure we put in our schedule first? Like, and you're really giving them some great examples on what they should do the hour after the daily dose.
You know, it's a couple things. I'm a continual learner, if you want to say, and working on improving myself. So like this year, for instance, I am pulled away from my Franklin planner, and the big thing there. And one of the successes I'm actually working on, you talked about Covey, is right here, his 4 quadrants.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I have this to remind myself, because I'm actually now having my task lists I'm putting in electronically. Yeah. And I'm having them by what number. Is it a 1, 2, 3, or 4? And so that's something that I'm working on. But
so explain that, right? I mean, I do that a little bit in 7L where I reference it, and I've learned a lot. I mean, that chart is phenomenal. So explain it to the people that are maybe just coming to Covey's 7 Habits of Success and the 4 quadrants for the first time.
So what I wanted to do is I don't know if I would have task lists, and I would write down lists. I'm a list person. Okay. Yeah. And then what happened to me is some things that weren't as urgent would get in the way. And so what I did is I now have it electronically saved, okay, in OneNote. And then what I do is what's quadrant 1 activities. And these are what's urgent and what's important. Okay?
So we're ranking all of these on how urgent they are and how important they are. And some things are not important, not urgent. Some things are important, not urgent. Some things are not important, urgent. And then you've got the not important, not urgent. Is that right?
Correct.
I might have
number one is the
wrong, yeah.
important and urgent. Number two is important and not urgent. Those are more longer term planning type of things, right?
Right.
And then the three is the urgent, but not really that important. Those are interruptions, little busy,
phone calls,
busy work, phone call, whatever it is. But
somebody calling you, right?
Yeah,
could be urgent, not important. Could be.
Sometimes you got to do it, right?
Yeah.
And then the four is really the stuff that you really want to get rid of.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that's not urgent and not important. And you just got, and it's just by identifying that this is taking brain space,
mm-hmm.
and it's not urgent and it's not important. I felt as I've gotten older, I have this hard drive in my head where I used to just have such an amazing memory, and I'm feeling like my memory is, I don't know, my hard drive might need some cleaning out or something like that. If you want to just say.
Yeah. And put it on the backup drive, right?
Yeah. And I need a backup drive. And that's where my quadrant 4 is, this backup drive. I can write it down, put it there. And now it doesn't come to the forefront of my mind. So that's one of the things that I'm personally working on. But what I've seen with people, and this comes from your stuff that you've taught me about, is this influential zone. And what's crazy, if you think about your success right now and where you're at, wherever it is, it's just where you're at. And what I found is most people only spend about 15% of their day in this influential zone.
Jeez.
And think about that, right? Because you teach 80%, and I've only been able to achieve that a couple of days in my life. And I was so tired the next day I had to take off. It was exhausting, but it was awesome. Yeah. But my point of it is if you're at a success right now based on influencing 15% of your day or 10%, imagine if you doubled that.
Yeah, 30%.
Doubled your influence. I bet you anything, you're going to double your income.
Mm-hmm.
Flat out. And then think about that. Now let's say you went from 15% to 30%. Only 30% of your workday in that influential zone, right? You've now doubled your income. It's going to take a little bit of time, but you'll double your income. And then imagine if you want to triple your income. Well, guess what? You just go to like half your day in that. And so to me, that's probably the biggest thing that I've seen people have in reaction is as they've gone through the coaching piece of it. And really, it's hard work because you got to write down what you actually do. And there's reminders you got to put in and all this other stuff. But it actually hits. And then this light bulb comes off. I mean, you can talk to Fred Brown about that, right?
Yeah.
Fred did my class last year, and he's like, that was life-changing for me. And because that's the part of the time blocking is that the coaching on it is nobody ever looked at what you actually did.
Yeah.
They just said, your schedule's so pretty, Michael. It's just an amazing schedule. Oh God, if you did that, you'd crush it.
Yeah. I love how you make them kind of write down and categorize where they're at first. It's like, and then what's beauty about that is that you're going to the 1 degree tweak right after that, which is, okay, this is where you're at now. How's that feel? It's like, oh man, that's pretty chaotic and I don't feel like I'm getting much done. Okay. What's the one tweak we're going to make to your schedule next week or tomorrow that you could, that you want to do? And they make it happen. And I will tell you that one of the things that a lot of times people forget to put in their schedule is straight from the important but not urgent category, the second quadrant. And that is working on your business. Now, what you're getting right now is you're actually learning, which is different than working on your business. Working on your business is skill practice. It is literally putting together your buyer's consultation. It is putting together your pre-listing packet. It is putting together your materials. It is planning an event. That's actually working on your business. And that's, I will tell you that many people judge their weeks. It's like, oh man, I didn't get anything done. But they really had like 3 closings and 2 appointments and that kind of thing. They worked in their business, but the reason they don't think they got anything done is because they didn't have any time scheduled to work on their business. And I truly believe that what made me so successful very quickly in the real estate world was that I always had time in my schedule working on my business as well as working in. And it goes back to it starts to work and then you stop doing it. Well, you get so busy doing what got you busy that you quit doing what got you busy. So you're no longer busy. And that's what happens. And we have to make sure that that doesn't happen.
And that's part of it that you just reminded me of something is the wave, right?
Yeah.
Is the wave of, oh, you have, say 3 closings is a big month for you, right? And then all of a sudden you did everything to do that. And then guess what happens? You're like, oh my God, I don't have anything in the pipeline. And then you got to work on it. And then, okay, a couple more months later, you have a couple closings. And so what we're talking about here with this time blocking is getting the 3, and this is old sales training, right? Getting the 3 and having it be consistently across because you're doing the same habits that got you to the 3.
Yeah.
And keeping it there.
Yeah.
So.
And I love that analogy because we want to, well, here's the thing. There's always going to be a roller coaster, but you want your roller coaster to have an upward slant at all times, right? You're going to have this. What we don't want is this, right? What we want is kind of this always elevating, getting momentum, working upwards and improving. And the only way to do that is to work on your business as well as to work in your business. And so what can I do today? Like what can I do today to think about time blocking better and start to improve myself when it comes to blocking off my life?
Well, I think it goes back to getting a schedule, getting a week, writing out what you're, figuring out, first of all, what are your top priorities that you need to do. I think having a start time in your day, having an end time in your day is really important as well. And start planning out your week. Work with your accountability partner if you want. I mean, I've done the classes before, Michael, and we could maybe do something down the road where we do a Zoom or something like that, and I could go in and kind of work through it. Yeah, absolutely.
Like for free or for a charge?
Whatever you want to do. You tell me. So
okay,
I'm willing.
That's a dang awesome idea.
Yeah.
Let me add. All right, below in the comments section. By the way, Annette Jewel, I love your acronym for FAIL. First attempt in learning. I love that. And I love it. And then, so below in the comments, people, I want you to, just put TB if you're interested in a time, put time, put the word time. If you're interested in having a 30-minute session with Neal, where he'll teach a bunch of you how to time block and go through the first steps. If you're interested in that, put time in the comments below, and we will make sure that we look at that. And we have not planned that, but maybe we do it because that's a heck of an offer. Kind of like what Tristan offered last Friday, right?
Yeah.
The other thing too on this is that you can really leverage technology in today's world to become a better time blocker. Like, let's see if this actually works. I don't know. I haven't tested this yet, but we're gonna try it. This is what I would do if I didn't already have the daily dose in my schedule. Hey Siri, please remind me every day at 1 o'clock, Monday through Friday, for the daily dose. Oops.
What do you want to be reminded about?
Michael J. Mayer's The Daily Dose.
Okay, your reminder is set starting next Monday at 1 p.m.
All right, so it's going to start next Monday. So that was probably not an ideal outcome. All right, let's see if I can change it. It actually is, there is a button on here to say change, but I want to get better. So we're going to try one more time. Hey, Siri, schedule an ongoing appointment 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern called The Daily Dose.
You have an appointment about catalysts that overlaps with this. Should I schedule your appointment about the daily dose today from 1:59 p.m. to 2:59 p.m. anyway?
Please change the time to 1 to 2 p.m.
You have an appointment about catalysts that overlaps with it.
You know, sometimes I love Siri, sometimes I don't.
Siri doesn't understand me.
So in this case, it's going to be easier for me to open up Google Calendar, type in 1 to 2, put it on, hit recurring, put Monday through Friday, and say June, something like that, right?
Yeah, and that's the part. I think maybe I just inferred. I use Outlook, and I have it on my Outlook calendar, and I put the different spots and what have you, and I look at my week and what my outcomes are going to be, what are my commitments and what have you.
You know what? That's a great point. Is in the comments below. I know a lot of you are typing time, and we want to make sure that we're respectful to Neal's time. Neal, we'll be done in about 6 minutes. If that's okay with you. Do you have time?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sure.
So in the comments below, I want to know how people are living their schedule. Like, where does your schedule reside? Is it a paper planner? Is it Outlook? Is it Google? Is it maybe you just use the iCal, right? The Apple iCalendar. What calendaring system or scheduling system are you using? And if the answer is none, then get one, right? But you could say none. It's going to happen, right? I'll tell you who this is really good for. This is really good for entrepreneurs, small business owners, stay-at-home moms, stay-at-home dads, owners, business owners. This is pretty much important for everybody, Neal. I mean, just thinking about like what we're really talking about is, how would you define time? You know, if you think about it, like what is the definition of time? I mean, I know we didn't rehearse that, and
we only have 24 hours, all of us, right? And I don't get to do work out a little bit more, and I get 25 hours. I mean, at the end of the day, we only have a certain amount of each of us has a certain amount of time, and we got to figure out and prioritize what we do with it.
Yeah, if you look at the definition of time, it's like, what is time? Like, you could say it's 1 hour, or that's a segment of time. That's not that's not time. What is time, right? And time is a segment of life. What we're really talking about here is not time blocking. We're talking about scheduling your life, like taking control of your life. You know, at the end of your life, you've got this jar, and how much you get done and what you achieve and what you want is you're going to fill some of that jar with it. Well, what Neal's talking about today is how do you get more in the jar? How do you get more into your life? And I have to tell you, Neal, at his bottom line is, how do you get more life? You know, and I think everybody wants more life. And that's really what we're talking about is how do you get more out of your time? How do you get more out of your life? And in doing so, how do we get more life, you know?
Absolutely. And I think Sandy's coming on tomorrow. She's going to talk a little bit about that. And she's amazing, by the way, everybody.
Tomorrow.
Need to listen to her.
Tomorrow is give your best. And that's what Sandy Creston.
And it's a little bit of what we talked about today and prioritizing and stuff. So I think they're really going to get something out of that.
So let's start the wrap up right on that. And I appreciate that, Neal. That's a great segue into. So one is tomorrow is Sandy Creston with Give Your Best, which is the perfect stack to today's session with Neal as we're talking about time. I wanted to do the time management on a Monday. Here we are on a Monday because it seems like we can make the biggest difference in habits if we start a habit on Monday and work at it for 5 days. And then hopefully we get it that next Monday. The other action is last week, your job was to pick 25 people. Some of you picked 25 people and created a Facebook group and invited those 25 people. But everybody was supposed to get 25 people. So below, put 25 if you got a list somewhere. It can be on a whiteboard. It can be in Excel. It can be in your CRM, but you note it like you're in a movie theater. As soon as the all clear comes, there is a movie theater that is free for you to use, but you can only invite 25 of your friends. Who are those 25 you invite? So you got your 25, the top 25 last week. Now, your job this week is to add 25. If you're brand new to us, then you can do one of two things. You can get a new 25 and a top 25 this week, or the overachievers, you can catch up, and by the end of the week, you have 50 people. And the way to look at this is you have a movie theater with only 25 seats in it. Who are you really going to invite? And they're like, well, I've got a friend in Australia. Invite the friend in Australia if you'd really like them to be part of your top 25. It's okay. Now, this week, we're adding 25. The movie theater called up and said, hey, listen, the 50-seat theater just opened up. Do you want it for free? Yes, I do. Now, who do you add to your top? You can only invite 50, though, not 51, not 55. Who are your top 50? I want you to identify your top 50. So the other thing, too, is a lot of you are newer to Neal Smith. Some of you have known him for quite some time. Neal is a certified referral trainer, CRT for us. He's also one of our top CRCs, which is a certified referral coach. One of his top coaching clients is a rising rock star in our group with Tommy Sandvik. And I'll tell you, Neal has been a big influence on him. And it's kind of interesting as we look at the great retrace of the people that you're impacting, Neal, and we love it. The other thing too is that Neal is now a certified mornings coach and does 30 mornings, which is going to start next Monday. And I don't think those are quite sold out yet. We may have a seat or two. I'll have to double check that. But you can get more information on 30 mornings by going to 30 AMS, 30 AMs. AM stands for Another Miracle. It also stands for morning. 30ams.com. You can get information with that. And then also, everybody, it's just like, I feel like I've done a poor job on this episode of like stressing the importance of this one habit. Neal, do you feel like do you feel like I've done a good job of that? Or how do we I really want people to do this. You know what I mean? Like some things it's like, all right, you Facebook group, you know what? Very current, very real. Your life will be better if you want to lead a Facebook group and create a Facebook. It's an awesome thing. But this is like, I don't know. This is like the thing, you know?
Well, the hard part about this is it's hard,
yeah.
Right? And you're looking at yourself in the mirror, you know, and you're looking at your habits and you have to, again, I said this earlier, you have to have that why.
Yeah.
You really got to identify, why do you want to go put yourself through some changes of some habits and get a little bit uncomfortable? And only you know the answer. You know, we all have our own internal thing, and that's the hard part. It's so important. And that's when I first read your book, and then we started going through it and listening to your teachings and everything, and you had the stuff on time blocking, and I was like, you know, and that's part of why I focused in on that with the CRT, is it's so important. And that's a part of it. I think that I think people get it. People talk, you usually let off with your conversation on stage, right?
Yeah.
And you figured it out in 20 seconds. You know?
Well, yeah, only because I had to. It's a great question because I do. I have so many different, you know, habits and rituals and structures that I have, and you know, perhaps even maybe over structured in some cases. But what I've discovered is the more I structure things and plan things and I'm proactive with it, the more I get back in life, you know? So it's amazing. And I agree. It's so powerful. Now, any questions for Neal, please put them in the comments below. And do you have time for a couple of questions, Neal?
I'm here. I have it blocked out for you, and
yeah.
We're here, you know, so I'm totally open. One of the things I want to tell you, Michael, is I believe in life. Like, it's kind of like going back to sports and like my kid, we've talked a lot about sports with our kids, and the kid that wants the ball is the one that gets it, right? And so I'd asked to be a 30 mornings coach about a year ago.
Wow.
And I'd been pinging you all like for a while, and you know, Jen and Tony do just an amazing job, and I can't tell you how excited I am about talking about morning ritual and all of that space with Shaylee, is that she knows her stuff so well, and I feel honored to be in this group as the young buck per se in this 30 morning stuff. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, you guys make a dynamic duo with our West Coast 30 mornings team, and I can't wait. You're both very like structured, but you're also very like real. You know, I mean, what you can't necessarily have is a commanding officer type on 30 mornings, right? You've got to ease into it. You've got to, or things will break, and we don't want people to break. So how would people connect with you if they wanted to send a referral to a lender in Sacramento, to yourself, or they just wanted to connect with you in general about coaching or teaching? How do they make that happen?
Well, I'm on Facebook, Neal, Neal Smith, Smith. You can find me there.
Well, hold a second. Your name's Neal Smith. You got to be more specific than look for Neal Smith.
Lender, I don't know. Just email me, Neal, Neal, at team, teamnks.com. And it's team, and then my initials, nealkimballsmith.com. You can reach out there. Love to help. Ask any questions on the time block. Send me a schedule. What do you think? You know, what have you. I'm a little busy these days with this whole mortgage thing going on, but I would love to help. So give me some grace as far as my response time and what have you, but definitely would love to help people for sure.
And what I love about it is that, you know, you don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. Record setting month in February. Is that right?
No, not, I mean, we're doing a lot right now. For sure.
Yeah.
So.
I remember on the call that we did a couple of weeks ago, you were just talking about that you were breaking some records even.
Yeah, we are. We're
market.
in the process. It's hard is because if you all don't know, the mortgage system is a little bit broken down a little bit with overload. And so what we thought we were going to have this month, unfortunately, we're helping next month. So things are going extremely well. I'm not complaining one bit for sure. So.
I love it. Would you have that picture on your wall of the 4 quadrants? Would you be willing to share that?
Absolutely.
Okay. We had a couple of people ask about that and just so you know, a really good shout out on a book to read is The 7 Habits of the Highly Successful by Stephen Covey. One of the classics in the book world. Very good book to read. I truly believe everyone should read it. Judy Johns.
Have that book for kids too, by the way. I'm pretty sure. So.
Yeah. And then some of you remarked about Miles, our dog, who was so excited about what Neal was talking about. He barked his approval. And I will tell you that we will get Miles on a future episode of the Daily Dose. He would be really happy with that because he is not shy of the screen. He's not shy at all. So he's a little Maltese, and that sucker is going to be cute all of his life. You know what I mean? I mean, that's so without further ado, I want to make sure that we give Neal back his time here and we wrap up. But the bottom line is Neal, what we're talking, I mean, what I hope is this is one of those episodes that people can share, can let other people know about, and they're not going to worry about referral partners or if they're in business or if they're in real estate or they're a lender. This is applicable to literally anyone. And especially, there is no more important topic, in my opinion, right now with the current quarantine situation and the physical isolation than people gaining control over their lives. People feel a lack of control. The structure that they had was gone. Now it's a new normal. It is a new time. It is time to take control over this new normal, or people are going to have breakdowns. Some people are already having breakdowns. So the thing is all right, plan out your day, plan out your week, and schedule it. I mean, we all flourished in this environment, and it was called school. You know, school has English, followed by math, followed by science, followed by lunch, followed by recess, followed by social studies, followed by history, followed by whatever it may be. But the thing is, and we had practice at 3:15 every day. Why do we do that? You know what? Because we want structure. We want control. And I'm telling you right now, if you don't take control of it, nobody else will, or somebody will take control over your time, and it won't be your life, it'll be their life. So I'm just saying that I've done everything I can here today. You know, I think Neal has done everything he can here today. We will look at a future class, but I'm telling you, don't go to that class with the thought of like proctoring it or being a spectator, because life is not a spectator sport. Life is a participatory sport. You got to get in the game. And today we thought we talked about getting in the game. We talked about failing. And Neal, I really appreciate you being on today's episode of the Daily Dose. You're always a wealth of wisdom, and I love you, brother.
Hey, I love you too, man. Yeah, I appreciate your mentorship. It really has changed my life. And another big shout out, retrace to Bill Hart, if he hears this, for getting me to know your book. And it really has had a big important part of my life. So I appreciate you.
Awesome. And
your wife. So.
And isn't that interesting? As Bill Hart brought you to me, he also brought Sandy Creston to me, which is tomorrow. Yeah. So big shout out to Bill Hart. And man, what a great name. I mean, wouldn't it be cool if our name was Hart, like Michael Hart, Neal Hart? I mean, so anyway, I love you. I appreciate you. Everybody, I just want to say thanks. Once again, your job is to block off the hour after this episode from now on. Put whatever you want into it. It's 100% your choice, but it's a non-negotiable. You're going to block off 2 hours from now on for the Daily Dose. Daily Dose, instant implementation, and then whatever you're going to do. Work on your business, work in your business. Maybe it's play with the kids. Maybe it's whatever it is. Walk the dog. I don't care what you do, but you're going to put something non-negotiable every day after the Daily Dose episode. You're going to add 25 to your top 25. You will have top 50 by the end of this week. That's very important. We're going to do something cool with this as we go. We're going to do something really cool with this top list as we go. And I'm not talking about in your database, like somewhere you need to have instant access to your top 50 by the end of this week. And then we will discuss having a time class. For some of you, I know that you are big into the Zoom and you want to learn more about Zoom. We are in conversations with a teacher to give you the basics of Zoom. And then we're also going to have an advanced class on Zoom. Thank you for your interest in that. And then last but not least, sign up for 30 mornings. Can you change your life in 30 mornings? Yes, you can. Go to 30ams.com. That's 30ams.com. Sign up if it's not sold out. We are doing them live and we are doing them on Zoom. It doesn't get any better than that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow on the Daily Dose.
Thank you.